Investments in many stocks until you become an expert, blank, blank, are an excellent way to do this. This is diversify your investments in many stocks until you become an expert. 5 is the word allocate. 4 is the word, or 6 is the word diversify. What's the difference between those two? Allocate and diversify. Why 2 words? Allocate is to separate into 3 kinds of investments: mutual funds or stocks, bonds, and cash. That's allocation. But inside those groups of stocks, you need to diversify. You should never buy one stock. You should probably invest in 7 or 8 different stocks, because if one wipes out, you have the other ones to kind of keep you careful. Mutual funds are an excellent way to do this. You can invest in individual stocks, but much better for you to be doing mutual funds. Next point here, number 7. I want you to track an imaginary portfolio. If you don't have money, if you only got $100 to get started with and $25 a month, I'm going to ask you to turn on your awareness a little bit more by doing what I call an investment challenge. And I'm going to ask you to select 3 kinds of investments: the money market account, some stocks, some specific stocks, and some mutual funds, and to pretend like you got $100,000. Just make it up out of the air. If I had $100,000, where would I put it? Because one of these days you will, won't you? Yes. If you don't now, you're going to. Yes. So I'm going to ask you to pretend like you're rich already. And I'm going to ask you to allocate your money over these 3 kind of classes. Write down the names of the companies you're picking. How much of your money are you going to put in IBM? How much of your money are you going to put in, some Wells Fargo or whatever it happens to be? What's the symbol of that stock? And then I want you to track that stock over a period of time. Same thing with mutual funds. Open up your USA Today and take a dart and throw at it. Pick something right out of the hat. Start tracking it. And watch what happens to its value over a period of time, so you get the experience, so it gets into your blood, so you really get to sense what it's like. Because even some of you, well, the reason I'm asking you to do this is because some of you guys are going to live to 100. Some of you are going to live to 110. In fact, many of you who are using Usana, sky's the limit, you know what I'm saying? You just never can tell. You're going to live way past your retirement age. Some of you are going to think you're going to retire at 65. You have 35 years left. What are you going to do with your life? You're probably going to have several businesses going on when you're 80. And you're going to be investing in your stock portfolios. Some of you are in your 30s and 40s. You've got years to get this into your system of how to make this money grow. And you've got years to train the people who are going to come along after you on how you want your money to be distributed when you're gone. Because you're going to go. So it's time for you to figure out the rules you want your money to be managed by when you're not here any longer. And so this is an excellent way to do it. You just pretend like you got the money and you start investing it. And your awareness is going to peak up, and you're going to get a whole lot better investing decisions based upon what you do here. Keep on going. With experience, this is what Warren Buffett says, with experience, you can afford to, see up here I said diversify your investments. If you're investing in specific stocks or mutual funds. But Warren Buffett says, with experience, you can afford to concentrate. And what he says down here is, put all your eggs in a few baskets and then watch those baskets. Carnegie said that too. Don't try to figure out what the market is doing. Figure out businesses you understand and concentrate on them. Diversification is protection against ignorance. But if you don't feel ignorant, the need for it goes down drastically. Warren Buffett is not ignorant. And therefore, he does a lot of concentration. Number 9, blank your companies regularly, track them regularly, watch them, look over them. As Peter Lynch said, who was the manager of Fidelity Magellan for many years, one of the best long-term plays in the world, he says, if you don't study any companies, you have the same chance of success buying stocks as if you do in a poker game if you bet without looking at your cards. That'd be pretty stupid, wouldn't it? To bet money without looking at your cards. And therefore, You need to check your companies regularly to see if they still have market dominances. And number 10, the blank you invest, the lower your risk. The longer you invest, the lower your risk. What I'm trying to teach all of you guys to do is to invest even in an imaginary way. Because the longer you invest, even play money, the lower will be your risk when the time gets to the point where you've got lots of money to really play with. Okay? And your goal, everybody's goal in the room, is to take their surplus investment money and to make it grow at least 10% rate of return every year, and hopefully more than that. Okay? Skill number 5 is how do you make money? Now, I've already got some of my money going out of my life and into my mutual funds and my bonds and stocks and things of that nature, even if it's only $25 a month. You can do that. But that's not enough. The future requires everybody in this room and everybody you ever meet from now on to become an entrepreneur, a home-based business person, whether it's a network marketing company, which is one way to do it, or to own your own business of some sort, do some real estate investments. All of you in this room have to own your own business somehow. You've got to own it. It used to be in the past that we could become part of a company and buy that company and put our whole lives into it, but that's changed. It just drastically has changed. And it's been caused by global competition. These computers that are now sitting on our desks, do you remember when those were not prevalent? How many of you took computer classes in college and you had a big mainframe that you spit cards into? You remember what that was like? Okay, that world is gone forever. The power of that mainframe is now sitting on your laptop computer. The big room of the first computer would fill up a room this size is now found on one Pentium chip. And it's a massive difference for our future. Each of you has to be a business person. What business are you going to go into? Since you've got to do it. Well, we're going to talk about skill number 5 here in just a moment, and that's the skill of creating wealth flowing to you from your own operation of a business, whether it's a service that you provide for somebody, or whether it's a widget that you're selling, or whether it's information that you're trying to market. Now, we're moving into the information age, and each of you is sitting on right now in your life, each of you is sitting on $1 million worth of stuff that's in your brain right now. And tomorrow I'm going to show you how to get it out of the brain and how you can make a business out of it and to have that be your lifelong stream of income. But we need to focus right now on which of those 3 you want to do. Do you want to be a provider of information, a provider of service, or a provider of widgets? A widget would be a product of some sort. Some of you are already in various different businesses now. How many of you are in the information business right now? See, raise your hands on that. Okay, good. How many of you are in the widget business? Let me see, raise your hands on that. Selling stuff, things, widgets. Okay, and how many of you are in the service business, providing service of some sort? You know what the difference is? The service would be, give me an example of a service business.
Accountant.
An accountant, okay, he's not really selling you, something you take home. He's just selling you the way he processes the information, okay? What's another service business? Pardon me? A family? Travel agent, okay. That would be a service business, right. There's no widget you get when you go to the travel agent. They give you a little tiny piece of paper, but that's what you get. And then finally you've got your information business, which is selling information to various groups of people. Let's look at the 3 kinds of preneurs you can be. And I'm going to have you choose which kind you're going to be. And how you're going to tell is by what your heart tells you. Because that's the only way for you to create wealth anyway, is stuff you like to do. Secret number 5 is to do what you love and the money will follow. It's very difficult for you to make money at something you don't like. Because when you wake up in the morning to go to that quote-unquote job, even if you own that job, if you're a business person and you own it, it's difficult for you to get up the energy that it takes to go to that particular place and do your thing if you don't really love it. Did I have to work myself up to come here and talk to you today? Can you sense that I kind of like this stuff? I like this stuff, and I like you, and therefore it's not hard for me. It's not work for me. Oh boy, I get to go do what I do. See, that's what's fun. That's my candy. You are my candy. You're it. What a lucky guy I am. So when you go to do your thing, is it candy to you or is it vegetables? Should be vegetables, I know. Okay. So it all goes with what your heart is. Now, three kinds of preneurs. One's an intrapreneur, one's an entrepreneur, and one would be an infopreneur. Differences between those three. An intrapreneur is a person who works in a company but figures out a way for part of that company's profits to flow to them. Now, many of you would work at a stock issuing company, and you'd get what we would call options, right? Be able to buy percentage of the shares of that company just by working there or getting an option on it. That's a real part of what we call it being an intrapreneur. You're in the company, but you're becoming an owner of it somehow. And as the future unfolds, we don't have models for this really too much these days. But the models in the future are going to be, you go to work for a company and you say to the boss, hey, if I come up with an idea that cuts your expenses and increases your bottom line, will you give me a little piece of that? You know, and they're going to come up with models where they'll say, yeah, if you got an idea that makes us more profit, increases our net worth, we'll let you have a little sliver of that profit for the rest of while you're here at this company. And the models are more and more coming, but they're very few these days because that's just not the way business is really thought. They usually thought of employees as pretty much expendable, coming and going. Eventually, you're going to become good enough at your skills where you're going to be a free agent. And I think that's what you should start thinking of yourself. You know, a free agent goes to whatever company they want to go to. Here's Deion Sanders just signed a free agent deal for how much money? $35 million over the next 5 years. He got how much money up front? $13 million up front. $14 million. It's huge amounts of money up front. Last year he plays for a Super Bowl winning team. He's got his ring now. Now he's a free agent. He's on the market. Anybody can take him, and they're looking for the top players. So he can bid up his price whatever he wants at this point. Are you a free agent in your company? Where you work, are you a free agent? Do they recognize your value that way so that if you left, you'd be out? I mean, they'd be out? If you left, would there be a big hole in your company, or would it be like most people, put your hand in a bucket of water, when you pull it out, it just looks like it's just the company went along right along without you? There's some companies that you need to create yourself as an indispensable part of that company, an indispensable wheel in the machine of that company. We're learning a lot about this. We're learning about the mindset. And I'm building a foundation for you guys right here. It's the way you think about money, the way you control it. And this stuff is very rarely taught in context. Your little snippet here, like you're reading a money magazine, and you see this ad pops out at you, and it says, 5-star. Yeah, 5-star what? A mutual fund. Well, what kind of mutual fund is it? It's a no-load mutual fund. Okay, that's a little more helpful. How much does it take me to get involved in this? It's $2,500. Well, I can't do that one, because I don't want to put that kind of money into it, don't have it, or whatever. So there are a lot of advertisements that are going to be coming up in your life here as you become more aware, and it's going to be more confusing, not less confusing. You need a system to kind of simplify things for you. So Terrence came up to me and he said, you know, I'm pretty new to some of this stuff, you know. I get home and, you know, what am I supposed to do? You know, how am I supposed to get started on this stuff? I mean, how do I know how much extra money I have in my life? I've just barely started using this money tracker thing, so I don't know how much extra money I have to put into these investments. And I just said, well, pick $50 or $100, start off with some minimum amount that you think you can handle. You know, look in a money magazine. Just open a money magazine and look through the ads and see which ones turn you on. And then just call them on the phone. They'll give you a toll-free number right in there. What's your minimum investment? I only got $100 to start with. Someone will say yes, someone will say no, and finally you'll figure out one that works for you. Or you call in the yellow pages, you call somebody who's a financial planner and handles mutual funds, and you ask them what you can get involved in. So really, what investing is a leak out of your bathtub. That's your savings right here. That's where you're trying to get this money out of your life so you can stick it over there somewhere to lose it. Faucets, however, are what we call making money. being an entrepreneur. I got to turn a faucet on so that I can have more money to flow into my investments. Now let's just see a bigger picture of the way the money flows. There's our two faucets, and the money's flowing in here, and the money's leaking out here at the bottom. When we have our business account, another faucet that we're trying to do here, we're trying to really create several different buckets to put our money into. Looks like a cartoon, doesn't it? And so, or what we're trying to do is put in three kinds of buckets. One would be very safe, very safe. And so this would be your, what you call your emergency funds. Every one of you should have, 3 to 6 months worth of cash on hand, just in case there's an emergency. And you want to put it into very safe, very liquid kinds of things. The rate of return would be really low, 3 to 5%. And as soon as your bucket has filled up with money in that category, that little bucket, this overflow of money out of your life, then when it overflows into your next bucket and pours into your next bucket, which would be what? Pardon me?
Sort of safe.
Sort of safe. Okay, sort of safe. Something that's a little, that's a good way to say it. I like that. And once that one's filled up, then what are you going to do with this last chunk here? You're going to put, high risk. Yeah, high risk. Riskier things. Okay. Kind of risky. And so sort of safe, now they're kind of risky. Okay. kind of risky. Okay. Well, most of us don't do is first of all, we don't know how much money we have left over in here. Therefore, we very rarely have these other buckets that we're putting money into. Very few Americans or North Americans have any money put away aside at all. Their net worth is only found in their house because they had to make a payment or they went in foreclosure. That's where the most net worth is found for most people. All of you should have 3 to 6 months in this stuff, and then it overflows into these other things. A lot of times people will put, big chunks of money into a stock like a flyer. They're going into some hot tip that somebody gave you. You only want to put a certain percentage of your stuff in high risk, and maybe a smaller percentage. And you want to have more of your percentages up in this area right there. Now, that's the investment categories. What we want to talk about now, and even further in the detail, is how do I turn on the faucets? Turn on the faucets. Because all of wealth is a process of turning on faucets and plugging leaks. That's all there is to it. Turn on faucets and plugging leaks. And most of my whole career was about turning on faucets. But it never was about plugging leaks. And I had so much money flowing here at the top, and then I looked 10 years later and there wasn't any money left. I said, well, I'll just go make some more. And finally I got tired of that. I said, wait a second. Boy, if I'd just taken all the money's flowed through my fingers in the last 10 years, if I'd just taken 5% of it and put it somewhere, there'd be a bank account with millions of dollars in it. Couldn't I have got by on less than, on 95%? Could I have got by on 90%? Yeah. Well, my attitude was just, spend it. Let's have fun. Life's to be lived, right? But that's a very selfish attitude because money is to be shared. And so the turning on the faucets, the reason I want you to do this plugging the leaks first stuff is because if you don't have a system for controlling the money that flows into your life, you are out of control. You're going to crash and burn. For instance, if a guy comes up to me and says, I want to be a real estate rich investor, teach me how to do that, Bob. I want a 100-unit apartment building. I said, do you balance your checkbook? No, I want to get rich so I don't have to do that kind of thing. Does the apartment building have a checkbook attached to it? Yeah. Does it have 100 times more money flowing into it that's flowing into your life? Yeah. If you can't balance your little checkbook, what's going to happen when I give you a big checkbook? You're going to go belly up real quickly. because you don't have a system to control it. So whether you have $1,000 a month coming into your life, or whether you have $100,000 a month through your life, it's the same thing. It's the same system. It flows the exact same way. It's just the numbers are a little bit smaller. You know, $1,000 comes in from my job. I pay my leaks. I have a little bit that spills over here to go toward my savings. Pretty soon a little bit leaks over there to go towards my moderate investments. Pretty soon a little leaks over there to go to my risky investments. Whether it might be $10 a month, you know, because it's the same thing. As if your money flows the same when you hit the big time, then you want to have the same kind of percentages keep flowing, and then your prosperity just keeps growing like that. So plugging the leaks is one of the most critical skills. Unfortunately, it's not enough, is it? Because many of you are pretty good at plugging leaks. You're into budgeting and taking the pennies and all that kind of thing. That's not enough by itself. You have to know how to turn on the faucets. And you can be one of three people. You can be an intrapreneur, as we were talking about earlier. You can be an entrepreneur, which is a person that does widgets. Or you can be an infopreneur, a person that markets information. A person, how many of you are involved in USANA again here in the room? Let's just see, okay, so you guys are intrapreneurs, aren't you? You are an intrapreneur. You are linked with a company called USANA, and that company sells a product, delivers a product, and yet you receive profits from that, don't you? You've got a stream of income that flows to you because you're an independent distributor of that company. You are an entrepreneur inside a company called USANA. You're an intrapreneur. Somebody came up to me just a minute ago and said that 3M has a program where you can spend a certain amount of time every day on your project, and 3M will even, according to him, fund some of the projects as long as they end up with pieces of the profits that come from the deals that are created out of 3M. So a lot of companies are now moving towards that kind of a model because that's where the future is going. The future is everybody's controlling their own money. They're all entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs. So key is I got to find something I love to do. If you don't love to do it, then find something you do love to do. How do you find out what you love to do? We'll take a little sidetrack on a concept I call purpose. For many people who've never heard me talk about this before, it's really kind of a revelation. It was to me. I remember the first time I lost a lot of money. It's 1986. Almost 10 years ago. It'll be 10 years ago in February, this coming February the 13th. I was working at about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. That's when it happened. And I was doing extremely well. The people were sending me lots of money. I was on a royalty relationship with a lot of companies that were marketing my products. They were sending me anywhere from $50,000 to $100,000 a month. And I just get a check every Tuesday. And I didn't even have to show up at the seminars. They just sent me the money. This was good. This was good. This was very good. I enjoyed it. The money just flowed in. I didn't take care of it. Doggone, I just wish I could go back 15 years ago. Start that thing all over again. Be a different 15 years for me. Well, in 1986, a few things happened. A couple of competitors came out, started selling nothing down real estate seminars on the TV. Many of them are still on the TV. They're all my graduates, people that worked for me. Basically, literally lifted those